According to some field researchers, the area has perfect living conditions for Bigfoot. They even provide proof, a video that brought investigators from the Finding Bigfoot TV series that airs on Animal Planet to New Mexico.
I saw something on the road. I saw him kneeling on the road like a person would kneel. I put my headlights on bright so I could see it. And that's what really made me realize it wasn't something normal.
7 foot tall, huge hair-covered creature walks out right in the middle of the road, stops directly in front of his car 5 feet away, and is staring directly at the driver of the car with these glowing, luminous red eyes.
Deep in southeastern Massachusetts lies the Bridgewater Triangle, a place where the unexplained refuses to stay hidden. Strange lights, eerie cries, and towering red-eyed figures haunt these woods. From highways stalked by massive creatures to mysterious heat signatures in the wild, the encounters are too real to dismiss. Today we join investigators and locals as they share their stories. This is the Bridgewater Triangle. Footage, courtesy. Travel Channel Ronnie's team worked to keep communication steady. A voice came over the radio reporting strange sounds in the distance. Ronnie responded cautiously. He was trying to get a visual, but whatever had been there was already gone.
You seen something in front of me?
Negative. Whatever it was, I'm not seeing it anymore.
The thermal camera just died.
So I only have you in IR.
Moments later, the situation grew worse. His thermal camera suddenly failed, leaving him nearly blind in the field. With his view obstructed, he admitted he could no longer see what lay ahead. The tension spread quickly. Over the radio, his partner confessed how unsettling the area felt. Ronnie agreed. Something about this place was wrong, unnervingly wrong. Through the thermal scope, a massive figure appears, its heat signature glowing bright against the darkness of the forest.
Camera just died.
So I only have you in IR.
What the? They really need this thing to be working.
My vision's obstructed. I can only see so far.
Yeah, copy that.
It definitely is creepy out here, I'll tell you that.
It's huge, the biggest she'd ever seen. But the sight grows even more unsettling. Another form emerges to the left, then another. There's more than one.
Big, and there's at least 4 of them.
What the?
And what's worrying me is I've lost sight of 2 of them. I've got 2 in front of me now.
Russ, Ronnie, you copy?
Copy, go ahead.
Ronnie, Maria is in a situation that I'm not comfortable with. I need you to circle back around and get to her location.
Roger that, I'm on them.
Maria steadies her high-powered thermal binoculars, eyes locked on the shapes shifting less than 100 yards away. Multiple figures moving with purpose through the trees. Vast, towering, and unexplainable. What are they? And more importantly, how close will they come before revealing themselves? He hears the whistling again, soft, distant, yet unmistakable. The eerie sound sends a chill down his spine. With caution, Maria slowly scans the surrounding darkness, searching for any shape, any movement, any sign of life. It's changing, shape-shifting before his eyes, twisting, bending, never the same. It's getting smaller, fading, shrinking, starting to disappear. A shadow slips through the darkness, gone. But something lingers, waiting, watching, unseen but not gone. What if it's still here, right beside you, watching?
Something has moved through here. Oh my, look at this. Holy, look at that.
Russell feels every hair on his arm rise, a sudden prickling unease spreading through him. Something got slipped through here. A faint rustle breaks the silence, like whispered footsteps brushing against dead leaves. He exhales slowly, barely able to whisper, "Oh my." He crouches down, eyes wide with growing dread, and sees it, an unmistakable footprint. The air grows colder, heavier, as if the darkness itself is watching.
Through here. Oh my, look at this. Holy, look at that. That is a footprint.
Russell Acord has just discovered.
That print, it's unnervingly large, too big for any creature he knows. The heel hits the ground with a heavy thud, then drags slowly, rolling forward onto the toes like something lurking, stalking silently. It's a mark of something not just unfamiliar, but deeply wrong, something that shouldn't exist here. What he found on the sandbar were footprints, massive, nearly 16 to 18 inches long, pressed deep into the cold, damp sand. The size alone defied explanation. He couldn't imagine any known creature leaving such marks. No human had set foot here for days. The area felt deserted, yet these prints whispered of something else, something ancient and watchful. On a quiet country road. Late at night, a lone driver, Lori, suddenly comes face to face with something she never expected. She switches her headlights to high beam, hoping for a clearer view of a strange figure lingering at the edge of the roadside. At first, it appears to be just another animal, but as the light falls across it, she realizes what she's seeing defies all explanation.
I saw something on the road. I saw him kneeling on the road, like a person would kneel. I put my headlights on bright so I could see it. And that's what really made me realize it wasn't something normal.
The creature is kneeling, holding a dead animal with hands that look eerily human. The way it cradles the animal is deliberate and unsettling. Not the careless movements of a wild beast, but something far more intelligent and unnatural. Its posture is unmistakably human, knees bent, elbows tucked in, fingers curled carefully around its grim prize. The air grows heavy with tension as the figure slowly turns its head toward her, moving with a calm deliberateness that sends a shiver down her spine.
And it was kneeling like it had knees, like a human being. Hands, elbows, knees. And I'm looking at it and I can't believe that I'm actually seeing this thing that I've never seen before. I was very, very frightened because I thought I was looking at a half man, half wolf, a werewolf.
Frozen by fear and disbelief, the driver understands she's not looking at any ordinary animal. The creature before her is something impossible. Half man, half wolf. A werewolf. The very presence of this being, caught between the world of humans and something darker, challenges everything she thought she knew about reality. What did she see that night? And how close do these creatures come before revealing themselves?
His eyes were a glowing yellow. His eyes were actually glowing. It was frightening. I was looking at this creature and I felt pure terror. That's all I could feel.
At first, when the truck jolted suddenly, he barely reacted. Probably just the wind, he told himself. Nothing unusual out here in the open. Without looking up, he returned to his paperwork, the soft scratch of his pen breaking the quiet night. But then, it happened again. This time, the jolt was stronger. The truck rocked sharply, not like a breeze brushing metal, but like something heavy had landed in the back.
At first, when the truck shook, I thought it was the wind. So I ignored it the first time, started filling with the paperwork again, and really felt like something heavy got into the back end of the truck. And that's where I saw the creature.
He froze. Something was back there. The silence thickened, heavy and unnatural. Slowly, fear tightening its grip, he turned to look. And that's when he saw it, fully, clearly, unmistakably. The creature stood nearly 7 or 8 feet tall, bent slightly beneath the roof. Its head was massive, wolf-like, but its body was broad and muscular, almost bear-like in bulk and posture. Yet it didn't move like a bear. Its presence was too deliberate, too aware.
The entire creature was about 7 feet tall, looked like basically a large wolf head on top of a bear's body. This was not a bear. It scared the dickens out of me. I became panicked and I realized I just needed to get out of there.
He could feel it. This thing, whatever it was, didn't belong to the world he knew. Then it shifted. Not away. It moved toward the front of the truck, toward him. Each step was slow, steady, deliberate. The kind of movement a predator makes when it knows there's nowhere left to run.
The people that don't believe me, I tell them to go pound sand. I saw what I saw. If they don't believe me, it does not bother me one bit. The creature that I saw is real. It was there, it was real, it was a physical something that I could not recognize that took the deer out of back into my truck.
What was it? What would happen when it reached the door? He didn't know. All he knew was this: it had seen him. And now it was coming. Footage. Courtesy. Cabin in the woods. It started with a feeling. Something just felt off. The forest, which had been alive with quiet sounds, suddenly went still. That's when he noticed it. Off to the side, just beyond the trees, stood something big, dark, and completely still. It wasn't moving. It wasn't making a sound. It just stood there, like it had always been part of the woods. But somehow, it felt out of place. He stopped. Maybe it was a shadow, a tree stump, a rock?
This is where it gets kind of strange, because what I saw was a large black shape that I would estimate to be 8 to 9 feet tall. I'm a pretty good judge of heights and lengths and things from all the years I've spent building. This thing was fairly far away, but it looked like it was quite large and quite wide, at least 4 feet wide, 8 to 9 feet tall.
But he had years of experience. He knew how to judge size and distance. And this thing, it was huge. At least 8, maybe 9 feet tall, 4 feet wide. Too big to be a man, too upright to be a bear. Still, it didn't move, not even a little. No breathing, no shifting, nothing. It didn't have a shape he could make sense of. No features, no outline. Just a dark, solid mass, shaped like a hill, yet somehow wrong, positioned in a place that defied explanation.
But it looked like it was quite large and quite wide, at least 4 feet wide, 8 to 9 feet tall. But it didn't look like a creature. It didn't look like a Bigfoot. It didn't look like a bear. It kind of looked like a large black hill, or just a dark mass of some sort. In fact, my initial impression when I trained my eyes on it, when I caught that flash of movement and looked in that direction.
And yet the longer he stared, the more certain he became. It was watching him, not with visible eyes, but with presence. Like it knew he was there, like he had seen something he was never meant to see. What exactly stood there, still and shadowed? Was it observing him, or lying in wait for something far more unsettling? He was certain he saw the thing move, but none of it made sense. The way it shifted, too fast, too fluid, didn't match anything he'd ever encountered. And for the record, it didn't look like a Bigfoot.
Was that this dark shape was a root ball, one of those masses of dirt and debris that an uprooted tree pulls up with it in its root structure. Although I couldn't see it very clearly because it was, as I said, a fairly far distance away, and it was behind a number of branches and bushes from trees and foliage.
Every story he'd ever heard described Bigfoot as a towering human-shaped creature, just larger, heavier, more solid. But this was different. Its outline didn't hold. Its shape seemed to flicker, distorted, wrong, like it was wearing a body that didn't quite fit. Whatever it was, It wasn't meant to be seen.
So I'm thinking, what the heck was that? Was it a bear? It looked too big to be a bear, but whatever it was alive, because root balls don't just grow legs and walk away. So I'm looking around, scanning carefully, trying to see if whatever it was is around. Is it somewhere else? Is it watching me right now? But I couldn't see anything. There was no more dark shapes around at all.
After he saw it move, he raised the camera and zoomed in, hands barely steady. Through the trees and thick brush, he managed to capture several seconds of footage, distorted, but real. And then it stopped. No sound, no motion. It just stood there, unnaturally still, as if it knew it was being watched. It didn't move again, not once. What if it never left? What if it's still there, just outside the frame? Footage courtesy. Small-town monster. What would you do if something impossible appeared on a lonely road at night? As darkness settled across the empty highway, a lone driver guided his car through a world lit only by his low beams. The hum of the engine was steady, the night air cool and silent. Then, up ahead, a faint shape stood at the edge of the pavement. It was motionless, almost blending into the shadows. Curious and uneasy, he eased off the gas and flicked on his high beams for a better look. That's when the unimaginable came into view. A towering figure, 7, maybe 8 feet tall, stepped calmly into the center of the road. Its body was covered in thick, dark hair that caught the light like damp fur. The driver's breath caught as the creature stopped just a few feet from his bumper and locked eyes with him. Those eyes burned an eerie, deep red, glowing like hot coals in the blackness.
7 foot tall, huge hair-covered creature walks out right in the middle of the road, stops directly in front of his car 5 feet away, and is staring directly at the driver of the car with these glowing, luminous red eyes.
The driver would later tell investigators he had never seen anything like it. Eyes so vivid they seemed almost alive with their own light. For a moment, time hung still. Then the creature moved. Its long arms and legs swung in a slow, deliberate rhythm as it turned and bolted. In a few powerful strides, it crossed the road and bounded up a nearby hill with surprising speed and grace. Heart pounding, the driver followed for a short distance. His headlights locked on the fleeing shape. But within seconds, it vanished.
He got a very, very good look at this creature, gave us a very detailed account of what it looked like.
So whenever I was researching my book, The Unexplained World of the Chestnut Ridge, I was coming in with these interviews of people repeatedly talking about red eyes, right? This red eye shine. And sometimes the eyes were even glowing without any kind of light source around, as if they were emanating.
As if the night itself had swallowed it whole. Later, when he reported the encounter, he gave a clear and detailed description of every feature. The height, the hair, the strange red glow of its eyes. Shaken but absolutely, certainly, he insisted that whatever he had seen was no ordinary animal and no trick of the light. So what do you think? Was it a legendary creature or something even stranger, something that still waits on forgotten backroads for the next unsuspecting traveler? Case number 06. Footage. Courtesy. CO.AG. The area has been drawing attention for what else might be living there. Field researchers claim it offers ideal conditions for a creature like Bigfoot. They even presented a video as evidence, compelling enough to bring in investigators from the TV series Finding Bigfoot.
According to some field researchers, the area has perfect living conditions for Bigfoot. They even provide proof, a video that brought investigators from the Finding Bigfoot TV series that airs on Animal Planet to New Mexico.
Cliff Barackman described how the footage was recorded using a thermal imaging camera, which detects heat instead of ordinary light. He explained that any living creature that gives off body warmth, whether a wild animal, a human, or something as mysterious as a Sasquatch, would show up as a bright, glowing figure. The luminous shape in the clip, he pointed out, represents that clear heat signature. The image shown here is that distinctive heat signature. It radiated body heat and moved with a deliberate, upright stride, leaving a trail of unanswered questions for years to come.
On a thermal imager. Thermal imagers see heat, so anything that radiates heat in any way, like a mammal, like a Sasquatch, will appear white.
And this is that white image.
Their goal was simple: to find out whether the mysterious shape could be explained as a hiker, a camper, or an optical illusion. The area was remote, quiet, and unchanged since the original sighting, the perfect place for a careful recreation. To get an accurate measurement, the group decided to film a comparison shot. Researcher James Bobo Fay stood exactly where the glowing figure had appeared in the thermal footage. Cameras rolled as they captured every angle, every reference point. When they reviewed the side-by-side images, the difference was striking. The figure in the 2011 video towered over Bobo, measuring at least 7 feet tall, perhaps even 7.5. Its build and proportions were noticeably larger than any average human.
Now the team is trying to figure out the size of the image to make sure it's not just another camper by comparing it to a picture of Bobo, one of the researchers who is standing in the same place.
This thing's significantly taller than me. It's at least 7 foot tall, maybe 7.5.
The team discussed possibilities: an unusually tall camper, a misread of the camera's perspective, but the evidence refused to shrink to something ordinary. "That's no camper," one investigator said finally, shaking his head. "Whatever showed up on that thermal camera wasn't human."
It is a squatch.
It's not just a video that has the team convinced Bigfoot lives in northern New Mexico.
This is the mountainous part of New Mexico, and it has a long history of Bigfoot.
During one visit, a woman claimed she saw something lurking in the woods. The woman was so terrified she broke down in tears, begging her man to leave the area immediately, as if whatever she saw was still out there, watching. One witness recalled waking in the middle of the night and getting out of bed. Her window faced the woods, and she claimed to see something staring back at her. She described the figure as having no visible neck, its head set unnaturally low on its shoulders. Footage. Courtesy D-Max, UK. Russell held his camera steady and looked into the dark trees, zooming in on a shadow near the base of a tall pine. A dark shape stood out against the gray forest floor. It didn't move or make a sound. A nervous feeling crept over him, warning that something about the scene was not normal. The spot seemed perfect for hiding, and thick branches made heavy shadows that could hide almost anything. He scanned the area carefully, wondering if it was only a trick of the fading light or something more serious. He compared the shape to the tree next to it to judge its height. A black bear might stand on its back legs, but this figure reached higher than any bear he had ever seen. The longer he watched, the more sure he became that it was taller, much taller, than any local animal. One thought kept coming back, stronger each moment. Could this tall, dark figure match the size of the creature people call Bigfoot?
This is where I would be. Check this out. What's tall enough for this to be in the way of? A bear, at best, will stand maybe this tall. That's really high off the ground.
The forest grew dark as Russell set up on a secluded hillside. Earlier that afternoon, he'd noticed an odd shadow and a cluster of broken branches, clues that something sizable might have passed through. Now, with a thermal scope in hand, he scanned the slope and waited. The night air was cool, ideal for spotting any creature that gave off body heat. A warm animal against the chilled landscape would glow bright on his screen. Russell adjusted the focus and slowly swept the hillside, every sense alert. Then something caught his eye. A pale shape stood out against the darker background. He narrowed his gaze, trying to make sense of it. "What is that?" he wondered. "Is it a rock sitting right in front of me? I have to know what this is," he told himself.
So it's cool tonight, so anything that has a drastic change in temperature will show up nice and bright. What is that?
Is it a rock?
Right out here in front of me.
Is it moving?
I want to see what it is. What is that?
He paused, eyes fixed on the trees around him, thinking, look at those bends. What's happening here? As he moved down the slope from the towering redwoods, the change in scenery felt sudden and unsettling. In less than 100 feet, the forest shifted into a different world, cooler, denser, and unnervingly quiet, as if the air itself held its breath. Then he saw it. Several trees twisted and bent in ways that felt anything but natural. Thick branches curled and wrapped around each other as though some unseen force had grabbed and forced them into place. He stepped closer, studying the warped wood. Is that branch really twisted? He wondered. The pattern felt intentional, almost as if the forest itself had been shaped by something or someone unknown. Footage. Courtesy. Destination, America. A powerful storm forced a research team to leave their truck deep in the high country. The wind roared and rain poured so hard they had to hike out and wait for calmer weather. Several days later, under a cold gray sky, they came back to get the vehicle and found something unexpected. The forest was strangely quiet, broken only by the slow drip of melting snow. Moving carefully among the tall pines, the team looked for tracks. The forest held an uneasy hush as the truck came into view.
A storm forces a research group to abandon their vehicle in the mountains.
Oh, come on, man. Try to help me find out.
Days later, when they returned, they found that Bigfoot had left his...
They moved with caution, scanning the wet earth for any massive, human-like print whispered about in Bigfoot stories, every breath echoing in the stillness. One researcher approached, eyes sweeping the shadows. He slowly opened the passenger door and went still. Across the fogged window lay a massive print, edges clear and fresh, as though Bigfoot had been there only seconds earlier. Jeffrey saw it next. Color drained from his face, his eyes locked on the mark, frozen in shock, wide with shock. He stood frozen, silent as stone, as if he had just seen a ghost, while the dark woods around them seemed to watch in absolute silence. What kind of giant could leave a print so massive and so fresh? And could that very creature be standing in the darkness right now, closer than any of them dare to imagine? The discovery had shaken the team, but the investigation was far from over. Mickey Burrow, an investigator seasoned in cases of murder and mayhem, studied the strange print on Jeff's window like a crime scene. He traced every curve and shadow of the print, searching for clues, determined to understand exactly what he was seeing. Slowly, the image came into focus, a massive face pressed against the glass. The dimensions were startling. Lips measuring 7 to 8 inches across, nostrils nearly 6 inches. They're looking at a creature of extraordinary size, something far beyond normal.
As a crime scene investigator, with 16 years on the job, Mickey Burrow is familiar with cases of murder and mayhem. What could he do with a Sasquatch-sized smudge on Jeff's car window?
I approach this as if it was a crime scene, just trying to figure out what exactly it is I'm looking at.
Soon, the face print came into focus.
We're looking at a very large creature. The lips...
The forest seemed to tighten around them, every sound swallowed by the dark, as if the giant that left the mark might still be watching from the trees. The Bridgewater Triangle has offered only glimpses, fleeting shapes in the trees, glowing eyes in the dark, heat signatures that vanish without a trace. Investigators came searching for answers and left with even deeper questions. Was it Bigfoot that left those towering footprints? Something older and stranger that twists trees. We're going to have a lot of potential Bigfoot evidence, or forces we can't yet name, in this part of Florida, moving unseen through the swamps. Has anyone here ever spotted Bigfoot? Hands up. A man named Jeff, unfolding his experience 3 days ago, stopped at the north entrance at Mika River State Park. He felt something was watching him. Suddenly he stopped. He looked to his right where he made eye contact with a very tall, hairy creature. He greeted the creature, a shaggy beast, a simple "hey." Without a word, it turned around and ambled into the woods, vanishing between the trees.
My name is Jeff. This happened 3 days ago. Stopped at the north entrance to Mika River State Park. I felt that something was watching me. I stopped, I looked to my right, and I made eye contact with a very tall, hairy hominid, and I said, "Hey," and it turned around and ambled off into the woods.
Another boy standing nearby spoke up about his encounter. He was walking and felt like something or someone was staring at him, so he turned around and was astonished to see the large creature. He was amazed. "What do you think about the creature? Could it be a Sasquatch?" He pulled the scope, zoomed in and put it right at it. It had brown eyes, the nose was flattened out, and all I remember is just watching it. We just turned around and looked like it was completely gone.
Walking and I just felt like somebody was staring at me. So I turned around and I was like, "Who is that?"
I pulled the scope and looked right at it and zoomed in on it. Big brown eyes, the nose was like flattened out, and all I can remember is just watching it breathe. We just turned around and head back to the house, turned around and looked, and it was completely gone.
In April 2012, a man was hitchhiking, and he was going to go down and camp out underneath the underpass. He lay down and slept for a short time, woke up to a weird, strange, and unfamiliar sound that was coming right down the embankment. It was a terrifying moment. We know Mayaka was a hotspot, and the number of witnesses at the town hall just confirmed that. The woman rubbed her eyes, convinced it couldn't be what it looked like. Bigfoot. They all compare it to a bear, a cow, and a human all at once is what it sounded like. The hair was very long, just flowing in the wind all the way down the body.
In April of 2012, and I was going to go down and camp out underneath the underpass. And slept for a little while, and I woke up to a strange sound that was coming right down the embankment. Just like the ah, ah.
Another camper spotted two big red eyes. He backed up, eyes popping. He was like, either I'm hallucinating or that's Bigfoot. No way. The investigators are collecting some pretty interesting reports from all across Southwest Florida, but there are few to focus on, including some that are very recent. They are going to look into those reports and hopefully they can nail down that area that's in the general Mayaka.
And I was like, holy crap.
We're getting some pretty interesting reports here from all across Southwest Florida, but there's a few we want to focus on, including some that are very recent. We're going to look into these reports and hopefully we can nail down an area that's in the general Mayaka area that we can focus on for our final night.
The road was Queet, and he walked it simply to stretch his legs and clear his mind. The air felt strange, and the creepy sensation made him stop. Slowly, he turned to the left, searching for the source of feeling. His breath caught as he made eye contact with a massive ape-like creature watching him silently. He'd heard the tales, but never believed them, until now. That thing could only be Bigfoot. He gave a hesitate, "Hey," and the creature simply ambled off into the trees.
I was walking down the road, just getting a little exercise, and I got a creepy feeling. So I stopped and I looked to the left and I immediately made eye contact with a big hairy hominid. I knew the only thing it could be was a Bigfoot. Finally I said, "Hey!" And it ambled off into the palmettos and disappeared.
When the sun sets and darkness falls, a different world awakens. The night, often feared, often misunderstood, becomes a stage of stories unseen in daylight. Ronnie and Mariah caught in the middle of two vocalizations. They have vocalization on both sides of them. So they're in front and behind of where they're just traveling into. It sounds to Russell like they've actually placed themselves in the middle of that attention. Hey Ronnie, there's something moving. Did you hear it? It's coming from over there.
We are caught in the middle of two vocalizations.
Copy. They have vocalizations on both sides of them, so they're in front and behind of where they're just traveling into. It sounds to me like they've actually placed themselves in the center of that attention.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
It's coming from that direction.
It watched from the edges. Its involvement was secret, a secret that could shatter lives if ever brought to light. They have no idea what that is. In the dead of night, something hit the ground. Something either fell or was thrown just now. There's definitely something moving there. He thought something was coming up their way. It's definitely a vantage point for them to be up higher. She could still hear it up, sharp and sudden. The sound they heard was back there. Whatever made that sound is probably coming that way, because they keep on hearing those creepy sounds. What do you think? What kind of animal sounds like that?
Did you hear that?
Yes,
Something either fell or was thrown just now.
There's definitely movement over here. I think something's coming up this way. I feel like we need to be on higher ground.
All right, well then let's go that way. Well, it's definitely a vantage point for them to be up higher.
Yeah.
That wasn't an echo. That was something else. Something, or someone, was tracking Ronnie and Mariah. At first it was just one branch snap, then another, then three. All of them were in different directions. Too many, too close. It had a pattern now, a purpose. They are not trying to catch them. They are trying to trap them, aren't they? Russell knows for a fact that if they call for him and need his help, he'll definitely go.
So you think whatever we heard up there is now down there?
Yeah, they're tracking us. They're coming around now. Oh boy. 1, 2, 3. There are 3, not 2.
I know for a fact that if they call for me, or they need my help, I go.
The Sync Sasquatch footage in Logan Canyon of Utah. It became clear to investigators after doing a size comparison on location, using a man that is 6 feet tall and 220 pounds, how large this Sasquatch is around 1 to 2 feet taller than the human is, and is over twice as wide and twice as thick. It's too big to a man, too heavy. He is confident that the video is legit and believes a large hominid species did indeed exist. This thing, whatever it is, it's not human. He kept his eyes fixed in the direction. The creature had walked the fading footsteps, stirring a quiet question in the back of his mind. What was it really searching for? He discovered dozens of tracks scattered across the ground, fresh, overlapping and hinting at a presence both recent and elusive, as if the creature had left silent warnings. No way. This Sasquatch video is next level, wild, mysterious, and totally mind-blowing when compared to a large man.
And 220 pounds, how large this Sasquatch is. It's around 1 to 2 feet taller than he is, and is over twice as wide and twice as thick. Searching in the direction the creature was walking, we discovered dozens of tracks along a creek that are around 15 inches long and nearly 8 inches wide at the toe splay.
Their expedition led them to the famous Deadly Bomb Site, a place whispered about in fearful legends of Bigfoot. They discovered deep, massive, giant tracks marked the ground, an eerie signature left behind by something vast and elusive. A few feet from a log structure that contains massive logs on a steep mountainside. The track was sunk several inches deep into the soft earth, and its toes stove in the deep mountainside. The track was over 14 inches long and was nearly 8 inches wide at the toe splay. An enormous print that spoke of a creature far larger than anything they had ever seen. Only a few steps ago, from a massive log structure, the huge Bigfoot track pressed deep into the earth, a hunting reminder that something immense and unknown was near. This Bigfoot track was only a few feet away from a massive log structure. It was pointed right towards this structure, which appeared to be filled with heavily relocated logs.
The track was sunk in a few inches, and its toes drove into the steep mountainside. The track was over 14 inches long and was nearly 8 inches wide at the toe splay. This Bigfoot track was only a few feet away from a massive log structure. It was pointed right towards this structure that appears to be
At a secluded hunting property belonging to a close friend, an unforgettable and chilling encounter took place. It was a quiet afternoon when the two men arrived at the edge of the property. The driver, accompanied by his friend in the passenger seat, pulled the truck off the main road and brought it to a stop. Both doors opened almost simultaneously as they stepped out of the vehicle and closed the front doors behind them. But before they could even open the back doors to retrieve their hunting gear, the eerie stillness was shattered. Out of nowhere, a powerful and deafening roar pierced through the silence. It wasn't just a scream, it was something deeper, more primal. A thunderous, guttural roar that echoed through the woods, with an intensity neither of them had ever experienced.
4 o'clock in the morning, we had pulled in my truck. We pulled in off of the road at this hunting property that I hunted at. It belongs to a good friend of mine. And I pulled the truck in off the road and turned it off. And he was in the passenger seat. I was driving. We both opened the front doors. We got out together and we closed the front doors. And then, before we could open the back doors to get our gear, we got screamed at. It was more of a roar than a scream. I mean, it was just loud. It was maybe 75 yards away.
The sound came from approximately 75 yards away, close enough to send a jolt of fear straight through both men. It was loud, impossibly loud, as if whatever made it was far larger and more powerful than any animal they were familiar with.
And it was so loud, just so voluminous, that we could feel it in our chests. That this thing, and you could imagine it, for something to scream at you, you would have to have a chest the size of a barrel. I mean, you'd have to have massive lungs to make that kind of sound.
Known by many names, Sasquatch, Skunkcape, Yeti, the creatures we call Bigfoot have stalked human imaginations for generations. Historically, Bigfoot has been reclusive, but recent incidents suggest a shift in behavior, more aggressive, territorial, almost deliberate. From the east of Banff Park, witnesses report the same terrified signs: tree structure torn apart, animal carcasses left as warning. The branches were twisted, not broken, into patterns. This wasn't random. It's communicating, a warning. A man captured Bigfoot. It didn't run. It stood there, 7, maybe 8 feet tall, breathing heavy. No wind, no bird, as if the forest itself held its breath. Then a distant echoing thump, thump, thump. This isn't random behavior. This is horrifying. The creature didn't roar, didn't chase. He was warning him to leave. Not a mistake, not an accident. A warning, and it's close. What happens when the legend you've only heard about comes knocking on your camper door? Today we dive into a terrifying encounter with a creature known as Bigfoot. Deep in the dense wilderness, a camper was unfolding his horrified experience. He thought it was a figure who caused trouble. He rejected the whole thing without hesitation. That was the moment everything changed for him. He couldn't deny it anymore after that. For outdoorsmen, Ted's story became reality after a violent encounter that night.
All of a sudden, the motorhome shook violently. It listed 30 degrees or so. I would anticipate that the tires just about came off the ground.
While sleeping in his motor camp in the middle of Vancouver Island, he went from doubter to believer. He had no idea what was coming. All of a sudden, the motor shook violently. One moment, silence. The next motor home quaked fiercely. It felt like something had grabbed hold on it and refused to let it go. It listed 30 degrees or so, he would anticipate.
I could see the spectrum of this creature, and it was standing on two legs for sure, and it had two upper limbs, and it was extremely hairy, matted hair.
That the tires just about came off the ground startled. Why does it feel wrong? He realized then it wasn't an earthquake. Something huge was rocking the motorhome. It hit him like cold water. Something big, really, really big. A shadow blotted out of the window, tall, impossibly still. It was already there. He saw the spectrum of that creature. It was standing on two legs for sure. And it had two upper limbs, and it was extremely hairy knotted hair. It was the posture that chilled him. It wasn't slithering or skittering. Without thinking, he was up, feet on the floor, body in motion. He ran outside, straight at the thing that has no right to stand like a man. The smell in the air was very stinky, strong, almost dead fish, but musky was very prominent.
I got to the tree line where the firelight had stopped. So basically it was where I was looking into blackness and I'm lit up.
He could hear the footsteps of that creature and it stopped, as it knew he was there. You heard it too, didn't you?
That's when I could hear the footsteps of this creature stop, as it knew I was there.
If I run, will it follow me? The whole moment was still, quiet and eerie. He had no way of defending himself. He pulled himself inside the motorhome, never encountering the creature again. On August 25th, a father and his daughter stepped out from their place for a peaceful walk in their nearby woods. It was a well-illuminated area. The father set the scene and began recording. He planned to share it with his wife. But at the moment, the scene took a surprising turn. Suddenly, his daughter spotted something unusual and whispered to her father, "What's that over there?" Curiously, he responded quickly, "Where?" Pointed out. "Look, over there. It's someone standing there. They are not supposed to be there."
Hey, Dad, what's
Yeah.
over there?
Huh?
What's over there?
Where?
It's right there.
There is somebody over there. They ain't supposed to be in our woods.
He asked her, "Do you see that figure clearly? Who's standing over there? He's moving, but why?" For his daughter, he's trying not to show fear. He kept his voice steady and stayed calm. But what appeared was something no one could ignore. It was straight out of every Bigfoot story they'd known.
Who is that? Do you see him? What is that? All right, hey, let's go up here and we'll turn around, all right?
Fully aware of what they'd seen, they quietly slipped away from the forest. In today's van life adventures, Trent treks to the mysteriously beautiful Pacific Northwestern area of the United States to camp deep in the Sasquatch wilderness, with longing to encounter the legendary creature. At the beginning of the day, he he decided to hike through the remote wilderness.
I decided to start today off with a hike through the remote wilderness.
And he clearly chose a trail that isn't very well liked. The intention behind this is considering if the rumors are fact-based, Sasquatch sightings and encounters are extremely rare, which is why they've been a question mark for centuries.
And I specifically chose a trail that isn't very popular. And the reason I did that is because if the rumors are true, Sasquatch sightings and encounters are extremely rare, which is why they've been a mystery for centuries.
So with him being in a more remote area in a less traveled trail, he feels like the possibility of him having some sort of encounter, whether it's uncovering footprints in the ground or hearing a sound off in the distance.
On a less traveled trail, I feel like the likelihood of me having some sort of encounter, whether it's finding a footprint in the ground, hearing a sound off in the distance, is a lot more likely than if I were in a more popular area.
This pathway doesn't really have a specific end of line, and if he encounters something on his way, he will approach it with full dedication and strive to meet the target. He was amazed to see the tropical rainforest, but the thing is that it's not actively raining right there. The rainforest stretched endlessly, a dense, tangled maze of deep green and shadowed undergrowth. Yet something felt strange. It was a place of silence and secrets. Without flowers, it felt older and more prima, untouched by the frivolity of colors.
And this trail doesn't really have a specific destination, so I'm just hiking for miles until my heart tells me to stop. And if I encounter something on the way, I'll try to capture it the best I can.
When you are walking alone on a trail like this, it's kind of hard not to feel like you're being watched. He was examining the wilderness.
And when you're walking alone on trails like this, it's kind of hard not to feel like you're being watched.
He saw something big in a dark area way back there. It's beyond him if that's a giant tree stump off in the distance.
I don't know if that's a giant tree stump off in the distance, but there's this big dark area way back there. And I can't quite make up what it is, but I want to go check it out.
He was unsure about what it might be, so he went to see for himself. Rainforests are hauntingly beautiful. The floor of the forest looks like a big old carpet, lies the greenwood floor, a mysterious and world shrouded in shadow.
This might be the prettiest forest I have ever seen in my entire life. Look at the floor of the forest right here. Looks like a big old carpet. I just want to roll in it.
His eyes witnessed a big, massive tree. He thinks it's the same thing he pointed out a few steps ago.
And then all of these massive tree stumps. Oh, I think this is the black mass that I saw from the trail.
A moment ago, as he continued his path, a patch of bark caught his attention. He found a strange pattern curved into the bark. It looks like something might be living in there, quiet and hidden. Perfect for a big beast to keep out of sight. With the sun low over the evergreens, Trent made his way towards the Pacific Northwest, where a man named Shane, who has basically dedicated his entire life to uncovering the mystery of Sasquatch. He is known for his scientific evidence-based approach, including the use of trail cameras, cast analysis, and habitat studies. He has become a pivotal figure in the Olympic projects.
On my way to go meet someone very interesting, Shane, who has basically dedicated his entire life to uncovering the mystery of Sasquatch here in the Pacific Northwest.
Trent arrived at Shane's headquarters, a modest yet well-equipped base settled deep in the Pacific Northwest's dense forest. This is the Olympic Project headquarters, the main hub research area. The Olympic Project basically is a group of Sasquatch researchers, some individuals from academia that come together to research the Sasquatch topic.
Wow. This is the headquarters, huh?
This is the Olympic Project headquarters. This is our main hub, our main research area. The Olympic Project basically is a group of Sasquatch researchers, enthusiasts, and some individuals from academia that come together to research the Sasquatch topic.
They are about collecting data as much as they can. Shane was eager to share his recent findings. The room buzzed with maps, trail camera footage, and research gear. a fitting hub for Shane's scientific pursuit of the elusive Sasquatch. As Trent stepped inside, he knew this meeting could be the breakthrough both of them had been waiting for. He was showcasing his thermal camera, which they utilize in nighttime.
We utilize these at nighttime. We use, audio units to record on campouts, and then sometimes we have like our longer LDRs, long duration recorders, where we place these out and record for weeks, if not months on end.
Here Shane reveals a little foot, possibly a young or smaller Sasquatch specimen, which was found alongside 14 to 15 inches in track. But there was only one, so that's the really unique impression casted.
We have Littlefoot here, which was casted up near Mount Rainier. This is what we, be an infant, which was found alongside some 14-inch tracks, but there was only one. And so that's, one example of a really unique impression casted.
Trent crouches beside the footprints, eyes scanning every detail. He was like, what if it's not Sasquatch? It could be a bear, or maybe just some weird animal track. What else could it be? Something they don't know. Shane replied, it's strange. That's why we keep looking.
So, again, you found this just like in the middle of the forest. So alone, like having a baby foot imprint in the middle of the forest, whether it's Sasquatch or not, that's strange.
It is strange.
In the dense, uncharted forest of the Pacific Northwest, legends live in whispers. Stories passed down, dismissed as fantasy or warnings. But one family's ordinary weekend would bring them face to face with the extraordinary. The Johnson family, Mark, Lisa, and their 2 children, Emily and Jake, set out with a quiet retreat in Washington State.
Human movement is very restricted, so it's plausible that some Bigfoots could come in here and not be seen. And maybe that's why no one has ever reported a sighting from here before. Or maybe this particular sighting was a Bigfoot scouting new territory. This video was filmed by a family of 4.
They bought a tent, gear, and a small camcorder. What they captured would shock even seasoned researchers. The researcher team came to them to investigate what they have seen. Johnson doesn't show himself in front of the camera. He said he has a professional reputation to protect. So his wife was ready to share all the mysterious things that happened with them, but she was also concerned about her professional reputation too.
Is a professor, and with his position, he would like some privacy and not have this, associated with his reputation.
So it seems that you're not wanting any fame from this. You really just want to figure out what that was in the woods.
True.
She was clarifying that they were walking this overgrown trail, maybe half a mile off the main loop. At that time, her husband had his cell phone on, and he saw something that was darker, larger, and wide. It doesn't run, it vanishes.
He had his cell phone out, and that's when he saw something that was darker than what a deer would have been, kind of crouching behind a tree.
Can you see it, guys?
My little one started crying, and it was just, it had a creepy feel to it.
1 second it's there, massive, unquestionable, and the next, nothing but rustle of leaves. He asked his family, did anyone see what was out there? And his little child started crying. It was such a horrifying moment for them. Investigators submitting a query. What happened immediately when the video phone was shut off?
Husband, a wife, and their 2 children. The husband said he didn't want to come out and talk to us because he has a professional reputation to protect. His wife said she'd come out and talk to us, but she's also concerned about her reputation professionally. Her condition was that she'd be blurred out and her voice would be altered before she'd go on camera.
Indiana's smack dab in the middle of the Midwest. I mean, it's a very conservative area, conservative attitudes, and people are very guarded about their reputations. People here do not want to seem strange or see strange things.
Would you be able to recount what you observed? She was unfolding the story. I saw something, or someone, obscured by shadow. The figure looked dark, maybe black in color. The figure was tall, unnaturally tall. Could you identify any particular traits or markings? Did you see any sign of what it might have been wearing? Or if it had hairs? She didn't notice any facial detail. Whatever it was definitely furry, like some kind of beast. Now's the time for the team to figure out what the figure was.
Oh, yeah.
So can you describe what you saw?
Sure. It was a dark figure, possibly black. It was hunched over. So, you know, it was hard to tell exactly how tall.
Could you see hair? Could you see clothing? Could you see any details whatsoever? Facial details? Anything?
No facial details. Definitely some kind of fur.
Whatever the truth, the triangle keeps its secrets. And as night falls again over these silent woods, one fact remains. The mystery isn't finished. Stay alert. The next encounter could belong to anyone who dares to enter the Bridgewater Triangle.